Welcome to Season 2 of Strengths on Fire, the Great Strengths Debate.
Think you know CliftonStrengths? Think again.
This season, we're breaking down the biggest myths
Challenging conventional wisdom.
and showing you how strengths actually show up in leadership, life, and the messy middle of real work.
Sarah, you want to light these strengths on fire?
Let's light it up! Good morning, Mr. Bill Dippel. It's exciting to see you today.
Sarah Collins. Oh my. Did you notice my shirt this morning?
Nope.
Did you? End of season 2, right? My shirt came up as a topic of hey, I wear a black shirt. I was in mourning. We were ending season 1.
Okay. So you're in a white shirt.
Today, skeletons with party hats.
Oh, they're skeletons with party. I couldn't tell if they were squids or spaceships. Didn't guess skeletons with party hats. That's how good I can see.
Skeletons talking about the new edgy season 2. Party hats for how happy I am that we are back in season 2.
Back on the mics.
Kicking it off.
Welcome to the Great Strengths Debate, friends.
Here it is. The Strengths Debate has begun. I loved season 1. I cannot tell you how much and to all of our arsonists, we found so many nuggets of wisdom, so many gems of wonderful moments talking to other coaches, to guests, to clients, to just enthusiasts that I got so much of it from a coaching point of view to be able to continue relaying it to events or to groups I was working with.
Yeah, it was just super duper fun too. I just love to be on these mics talking to people about strengths. It was a great time.
Well, you're kind of built for the mic. I mean, really.
Wow, even though you're the one with the voice.
I hear it. Again, our first through line for season 2, the voice is back.
The voice, that's right.
Sure, we'll take it. But I mean, when our listenership starts going full YouTube, that you're the one bringing them in. Clearly, it won't be me. So
I always did want to be on a radio, but then I was afraid people would say I had a radio face, which is not a compliment, and I never wanted a radio face.
A face for radio.
A face for radio is not a compliment. So I really hope no one ever says that to me. So if you're out there thinking it, keep it to yourself.
We're still designing the T-shirts. That might be that's another term somewhere on
I'll tell you what, I think it's no surprise to the audience and those that are listening that we love season 1, because could we have said, I love it more? No. Yes. Oh, that's so interesting. That's so fantastic. Sure. I have never known more that I was a cheerleader than listening to the episodes of season 1, because everything anyone said, I was like, oh yes, that is such a good point. I love it. I love it.
Sarah and I had this discussion in between the seasons, and we were doing a wrap up around what we thought went really well and what we'd want to change. And both of us pointed out, every time someone makes a comment, both of us are, oh, I love that. That is so. And while it's true, I do love the comments that we get from everybody. At some point, even I'm kind of laughing as I'm listening to the relaunch, because I'm like, wow. Yeah.
Well, and that was sort of inspiration for season 2. We knew we wanted to come back on the mic for season 2. We knew we had more guests to get to. We had more topics to talk about. But we thought, in podcasting, you can't just be like, a hot dog bun is for a hot dog and not a hamburger. Like, okay, obvious. You got to be a little edgier. And so what do people want to listen to? And I think that's how we got to the Great Strengths Debate, which is what we're launching into today, is because we want to talk about those questions that everyone has, coaches get, people talk about in their offices when we leave, like, well, what about this?
Yeah.
And so we thought, let's bring those questions here and let's debate them. And even though I think you and I, and probably most of our guests, will be on the same side of this, I will play devil's advocate. I will. Yeah. I'm prepared. I am prepared to say the things everyone's thinking.
I'm actually not even positive we'll all be on the same side sometimes. Like, we've cooked up some pretty interesting Gallup-based questions, and I've gone through our first couple of segments, made some highlight notes, talked about things that, hey, I find really interesting, both from a client point of view or from a personal point of
Oh,
view.
you mean you're prepared for this episode?
Oh, have I ever
Wow.
led you to believe I'm unprepared for an? I just so our arsonists know, I created all of the sheets. I do the Riverside. I do the editing. I think preparation, but in fairness to today's question, which we'll get into in a couple of minutes, I do all of that because I'm not naturally prepared. Because
Yeah.
I am not really good at, I love to fly off the seat of my pants when
Mm-hmm.
discussing things or coaching, or because we can go into some really interesting areas. But when it comes to like letting, and this is honest, letting Sarah down or letting our arsonist down, I'm like, my responsibility will not allow that to happen. Right. So,
Yeah,
yeah. So
absolutely.
back to that question, I'm not certain we're always going to agree, and I'm not certain our guests are going to agree
Well, I
with
love
it.
it. Bring it on. And in case they do, I will play the devil's advocate just in
Yeah.
case. In
Yeah.
which case, prediction for season 2, I will put my foot in my mouth and I may say more things that I
Wait,
regret
wait.
on this
That's just a
podcast.
prediction for season two. Did anyone
Mhm.
hear season one? I mean, both of us had our brilliant moments of, well, why did I say that? So yeah,
People
yeah.
know a lot about my reading, how
Hmm.
I love
Hmm.
a little bit of fairies in there,
Hmm. Hmm.
dragons,
Hmm. Hmm.
cold brats,
The party barge, cold
the
brats.
party
There's
barge, all sorts of things.
shadow daddies. I mean, there was a lot of, yeah.
A lot of personal fodder up in there.
Yeah, I'm not, and yet it just makes you more fascinating, Sarah. It just
Sure.
makes you more fascinating. So, I bet our listeners are about to notice, especially our arsonists that went through all of season one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Mark. Right? Thank you for
Yes, shout
our
out.
to our many listeners. Today we do not have a guest.
No.
We are kicking this off the way we did season one. It is just Sarah and I kind of pulling back and exposing how we do it, what we're at, kind of our thoughts on season one, and then we're going to get into a little debate ourselves around a
That's right.
question we put together. This is going to be a little format of how we're going to run season two. So if you like this, put some posts up. Give us a shout out. Let us know, and if you have thoughts on the season, or if you just want more information about Sarah that she didn't release in season one, then by all means jump on and ask the question. Let's see what we can get see if we can get some correspondence going.
Yeah, we're going to be posting on LinkedIn. If you are following Strengths on Fire on LinkedIn, or either Bill or I, you're going to see that weekly we're going to be posting some polls because we're bringing in what you think to the podcast. So you're going to hear the poll that we asked LinkedIn at the end of the episode. That's something new and fun we're doing. We're keeping our dumpster fire because everyone loves to talk about their dumpster fire, but
Everybody.
we are adding a fireworks moment. Bill, can you tell our listeners what does it mean to have a fireworks moment?
Well, as an arsonist, as an arsonist lover, as a lover of the term
Sounds
arson,
super weird, but okay, keep
I
going.
yep. I think if we're going to highlight where people think their strengths are going to get them to the dumpster fire, we should give them the moment to sparkle. We should
Yes.
give them a
Ooh, so
moment
punny.
to explode in the sky with brilliance, and that looks like, give us your firework moment as an arsonist. At what point, on top of, after the dumpster fire or before the dumpster fire, did you see just absolute flow? What was your moment of brilliance? Was it natural and reoccurring? Was it something that just exploded for you that you weren't expecting? And what strength was that? How did you get there? I think our other
Hmm.
listeners are going to be really curious to hear, well, yeah, I stumble in those ways too as a dumpster fire, but boy, I absolutely really like, and I have experienced some of those wonderful moments of the firework explosion.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. So we are going to mix things up because when we have our guests, instead of just hearing their story, we're going to debate the question of the episode with them. We're going to go back and forth. We're going to hear their dumpster fire. We're going to hear their firework moment. And then we're going to hear from the audience. So be on the LinkedIn, be making comments, be responding to our polls so your voice can be here. Now, Bill, before we roll into our first question, can you remind our dear listeners of your top 10 strengths?
No, no. I
This is like improv. You always say yes, okay? Just yes and
sorry.
yes
I
and.
ruined the improv moment. You're right. No, I was channeling my inner Micah there. I'll have to look, right? I think one of the great moments from season one is having the Micah come on and be like, I don't really know the exact order. And how amazing was that to hear from somebody that
Yeah,
is so entrenched in that? We're going to have some other Gallup or former Gallup employees on this season as guests. So,
we hope so.
and I do want to point out too, the first couple episodes going to be Sarah and I. We are bringing the guests back, so
Yes, we will have
I
guests, of
want to make sure.
course.
And we're gonna and kudos to you if I'm going to pull that back. I have been flooded with a ton of RSVP. My guest is ready invites. And yet I've been like, well, I casually invited some people, and Sarah is on it along with some of the polling that we're doing.
That's
So
because I also have responsibility. So while I may show up as a chaos factory live to this show so I can bring my greatness, which is winging it in the moment, being the talent, the voice, the
yes,
face of the pod,
yes,
I also do not want to let Bill down and be the one who shows up without a guest. So, you
you
know, here I
you are
am doing the things I need to do.
you are the face of the pod. I am just called arm candy. That's pretty much
That's
what I
right.
am.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Love it. All right, my top 10. Let's talk. So, number 1 and obviously the either the first or second greatest strength of all time, individualization,
Wow.
right?
And if you listen to season one, you know Bill thinks that because he brought it up in every episode.
Every single one. So, the way my golf game is no, I'm just kidding. Individualization backed up by the one that probably means the most to me, developer, right? Watching people fuel and
Hmm.
get better. My activator rounds out number 3, so jumping right in. I gotta go, gotta get moving. Rounded by the one that battles individualization for that top spot. Both Jim and Collison and I would agree that would be woo. Followed by restorative, that problem solving. Gosh, I can't let Sarah down. So I've got to figure out, how do we record? What are we going to do and get that in? And then I'm hitting on empathy, harmony, connectedness, which I'm going to talk about a little bit today in our question because it
Ooh.
came up earlier. I like my relator, right? I got to have some depth in my relationships, and then my only strategic theme kicking me in is learner at number 10. But then I also go, number 11 for me is responsibility. So when you and I are talking responsibility, that's big. And I go to about 14 when things fall apart for me. So 12 is communication and 13 is positivity, which, oh gosh, Sarah just brings her positivity so much, and it's another way we bind, right? So
Absolutely. I love how
yeah.
you like described yours. I also just have to give a teaser. I have invited a good friend to the pod, and on her episode, we are going to
Oh,
do the woo versus relator connection debate or connection face off. And I'm excited because I have woo, and our guest has high relator, and Bill has both.
I
So I
do.
cannot wait to do that. So
I
we are going to be doing some fun things.
I did see that in the show notes when
Hmm.
and she wrote back and was like, I can't wait for this. I saw the back and forth. So, and you did point out Bill has both when you sent it to her, and I was like, oh, this is she
That's
is
right.
she is salting the possibility here. I love it.
That's right.
So, how about
Okay.
your top 10? Hit me with yours.
I don't have them in front of me because Chaos Factory. Positivity, communication, woo. Got those big three right up the top.
Well, you did those backwards for you, but go ahead.
That order doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to say this. Like, if
Of
the
course,
great Micah can say it,
of course,
believe me when I say it. Stop
of course.
telling me my order.
Okay, sorry. I want to be there for you. I
I
just want to make
appreciate
sure.
that.
All
I
right, go ahead.
appreciate that.
All right, hit me.
We've got positivity, woo, communication in some
Mhm.
sort of order, but those big three obviously shining through. Also in that top five, I have harmony and activator. I totally
Wow,
forgot.
I was about to
Totally
dive in
forgot.
on you there, right?
Harmony and activator.
Nice.
And then in the top 10, developer, responsibility, individualization, arranger, and input. Not in that order. I am aware.
I wasn't gonna. I sure, whatever order you want it to be in. And
Hmm.
number 11, context. By the way, good for you.
Yes, and I will say I go to 13, which I think is context consistency, no, not
Yeah,
that
no, no, actually, I
context,
just gave you the face, but
consistency,
no, so far you're right.
your face made a face.
Mhm.
Context, consistency, and empathy.
You are correct. Well
That's right.
done.
Those are very, yes, near and
See,
dear to my heart.
this is my I have to be ready for everything because I have both of our assessments up,
Yeah,
ready to talk. Yeah.
exactly. You are
So,
ready for everything, and I have a client's assessment in front of me, which is going to do me absolutely no good today.
no, it won't. It will. Although we can talk about the client, that might be a fun way to. Hey, you
Yeah,
should listen to the. And
that's
by the
right.
way,
You should listen. I talked about you on our pod today.
the small shout outs I did at the end of season one, where I mentioned Nora and Mark and the neighbor that walks by and waves when he knows I'm on a podcast. I made sure all of them downloaded and listened to our. Hey, you better listen to this episode. So, yeah.
Okay, so before we jump in, I have one thing I want to say.
Yeah.
I'm still totally stealing this from Mel Robbins. FYI, if anyone is like a avid podcast listener,
Hmm.
I just want to say if you are here listening to this, then kudos to you
Hmm.
because many people are not prioritizing their development and their understanding of themselves and those around them. And I believe that if you are here with us today and you have your ears on this, that means you care a little bit about strengths, which I have to believe that means you care about learning about yourself and those around you. And that makes you a unique, special butterfly because many people are not. Many people are not listening to podcasts, and those who are often listening to just entertainment ones. And while I love those too, I think it's really awesome that you're taking the time, whether you're in your car, you're in your bathroom, you're cleaning your house, whatever you're doing, you are listening to this. So, just going to give you a little bit of kudos there.
Nice. Well done. And I'm not taking anything away from Mel. I love Mel.
Yeah,
Love
the
to
let them
comment.
theory. Let them, you know?
Let them. But I would tell you that, and I know why you think you're stealing that from Mel as well. I know her philosophy and when she covers that. But I would just tell you as a developer, I am always trying to talk to people and explain, I love that you're here and this is why, right? So I
So you're the next Mel Robbins, is what you're saying.
No, I would not. If only I had a moment like Mel, right? So I think Mel's one of my favorites to listen to. I kind of love that edginess that she brings quite often, and her book's phenomenal. I've loaned it out or purchased it for a couple of people when in our coaching it's been very relevant for them because sometimes you got to let them, right?
Yeah,
You have to
absolutely.
let them, but then and most importantly, let you, right? What are
Right.
you going to do? So I am with you completely and utterly understand and agree with that part of it. So yeah, and thank you all, the arsonists and the wannabe arsonists, or the people that just are checking it out, want to come
Arsonist curious.
in. Ooh, curious. Wow. I'm gonna take it. You know what? I
Take
like
it.
it. Yeah. No,
Take
it's
it.
good. I'm
Take it.
stealing it. Arsonist curious. I'm
Okay.
pulling that out. All right. I like it. So
Now we have our question. Are you
let's
ready to
get to
move
it.
to the debate?
So the debate today. I am ready. What are we hitting on the debate?
Is the strengths movement helping people or letting them off the hook? Now, Bill,
Hmm.
can you set us up? What does this question mean? What are we getting at? Why do people ask this question?
So frequently out in the coaching world, what we will experience is, especially if we're working with a group and they have that aha moment, or often as a one-on-one when you're dealing with somebody in that suite, let's say the C-suite or just having a one-on-one moment. Sometimes the reaction we get and what we hear is, so what you're saying is because I don't have any strategy in my top 10, I don't have to ever strategize. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
so that's it. I'm out. I don't have to. Everyone else, you get to strategize for me and I will do this, right?
Yep.
My empathy is number 30, 37. So I don't have to, worry about other people's feelings. I can just
Mm-hmm.
charge in and you're giving me permission to do
Right.
that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Yes, people all
Yeah.
the time. They'll hear the philosophy of strengths that you know your strengths and you should double down on your talents, those things in your top 10, and go all in. And so sometimes they take the complete opposite, just like Bill said, and they'll say, Okay, so that means I don't have to do the things that I don't have. Great.
I would also say, in thinking about this debate today, sometimes it's the subtlety of the avoidance.
Mm,
Sometimes it's not the just outright, well, you said I don't have to do it, so that's it. I'm not good at it. I'm not going to do it. Period. It's over. However, sometimes, and this is where a little of the personal moment comes in for me. For instance, and we've talked about this season one many times. My wife is a pure strategist, houses much of the strategy. I, as I mentioned, just have the one anywhere above 14 is just one of them. I do joke and coach quite often around Renee and say, well, if I need a strategy for work, it's Renee. I just, and it's my job to talk to people. So we may be fostering that idea that you can let it go. But in
mhm.
reality, you and I know from running small businesses together and communicating often, that's not true. I do have to strategize. I
Right.
do have to work and get to a point where I have to ramp up my restorative or my responsibility or the things that I lean into, which I think is part of the coachable moment when it comes to us addressing this question is what strengths are we going to lean into?
And I always tell clients when this comes up, and I agree with you, it's so subtle. Because it's not this or that, black or white. It's not like we're going to focus on our strengths and we're totally going to ignore everything else. And you just don't have to do that. I always tell my clients, we're focusing on what's right, not what's wrong, right? We focus on the strong things. But that doesn't mean that we're ignoring what's wrong. It just means first and foremost, we want to focus on what is right with us.
Correct.
And so I think it can feel like a this or that. And the truth is, there's too much nuance in there for that to happen. We
Hmm.
want to be strategic. Like, yes, it makes sense that, you have your wife who's very strategic. So you're going to lean on her to do a lot of that work. But of
Hmm.
course, there's still going to be strategic work that you have to do. It's probably going to look different. And for the sake of your business, it should look different
Yeah.
because that is not going to be where you are the mastermind. We shouldn't be locking Bill in a room and be like, spend the next 2 days strategizing on how to grow the business by 10%. Bill would probably come out of there and be like, I just like petted the cat the whole time. I
Yeah.
did
I
not
just,
do it.
yeah. Wow. Did we get our first SSM season two right there? Does that
Sarah's
qualify?
soapbox moment.
Sarah's
Oh,
soapbox
get
moment?
ready for a lot of them.
Is it coming? All right. Because,
Uh,
well, and,
but
oh, go ahead.
But what I'm always telling people is you can get the same outcome in the world through different strengths. So even if you had no strategic thinking themes in your top 10, that doesn't mean that you do not strategically think. Every single human being does some strategic thinking. It just means to do it, you need to do it through the talents that you have. So it's like we combined our talents together to figure out how do you do it and where is it the easiest for you. Now that may
Right.
not be your main part of your job. We may not want to say like lock Bill in the room and tell him to be strategic, but in those pockets of moments where we need him to be strategic, that's where we look at strengths combinations to say how can Bill be strategic in the places that he needs to be. So we're not
Yeah.
letting anyone off the hook. We're not excuse making. We are being strategic in general about how we approach work. And
Yeah.
then when we have to do something that we do not possess, we have to think creatively based on what we do possess.
Yeah.
Welcome to Sarah's first soapbox moment of
Sarah's,
season 2. Cheers, my
yes, that
friends.
is here. There's the through line. Another through line is just jumped seasons. I love it. And I would point out an early guest we had on season one. Allie Alden is a business coach who I work with very regularly. And frequently, my wife, Allie, and I would get together on the business, and they are both high strategy together. And that's a 2 hour meeting, and an hour in, I'm like, I am petting the cat, right? I'm like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, I can't, because I just don't have the stamina to keep the strategy going. But what we are really good at understanding in that way is now that Bill started to wander, let's set up how is Bill going to form the relationships in these strategy things we need to set up. And then I get queued
Mm-hmm.
up. Then I want, right? Or the ability to say, well, Bill, you have developer. How can you make this better for you and Renee? What is the developing that come up with some ideas where we might step into these things? And, we talk frequently about dynamic partnerships when we're in the Gallup coaching world. That is the power of that particular component, right? That is how those moments come together for us. How can we find a dynamic partner that will fill that need? But, and I think I've come across so far on this debate as saying, yes, it lets people off the hook because I keep getting guilty of it, right? I keep pointing out the parts where I've been a little guilty of it. Another one, and I listen to the Gallup Call to Coach podcast regularly. They have a new co-host on with Jim, and I'm sorry, I do not remember her name, but she is fantastic. And I was listening to Connectedness the other day, and I mentioned this to you when we were on a pre-show about something came up in the Gallup Connectedness pod that really struck home with me. And again, it's another example of where I might falter in this way, and that is in the connectedness vein. One of the blind spot possibilities would be you don't need to act. Everything will work out, right? The universe will align. Everything is fine. And there are absolutely moments where I should probably step on a landmine, or I should swerve to do specific things. But again, that connectedness is holding my hand to say, well, hold on, maybe not, maybe something else will align, something will happen. And that's not where I would say I feel frozen, but there are moments in that where I think, yeah, actually I should have acted. And I think in my mind, when I'm thinking of my themes, my strengths, and sometimes where I might use them as a weakness, I think that's one that gets me in trouble sometimes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you see, I'm trying to relate this back to our question
hmm
of
In
the
that, is it letting me off the hook?
letting
Is
you off the hook.
connectedness letting me off the hook to take action in certain circumstances?
Okay.
Right? Am I looking at it as a oh it'll work out, everything's okay in the connectedness world. I don't need to it's letting me off the hook to have to step onto a
Yeah.
difficult moment. And again, I have empathy. I have some of those that might lead me to have that too. But I think connectedness is one that traps me sometimes in doing that.
Okay, so you're making me think about if you are listening to this and you are a coach or you're a manager, which also means you're a coach, FYI, or a leader, when we're working with our people and they are maybe getting trapped into this mindset, it is really good to help them think about how to move beyond this. I don't have to do things a certain way because of my strength, just like with Bill's connectedness, because I think about like people with deliberative. Deliberative is an executing theme. Typically, these folks take great care and consideration when they're making decisions, but that can also slow them down. So I could see someone saying, well, I have high deliberative, so I'm going to need a lot of time to do this.
hmm
And I think to honor deliberative, we should give them some time, but I'm often advising people who are managing people with deliberative to give them a deadline,
hmm
right? And
hmm
that's how you don't let them off the hook. You say yes. And intellection too. Intellection loves to think about things. So it's like, okay, you have these themes. We want to get your greatness. We want to give you some time to noodle on it. We want to give you some time to think about the best way to do this. However, we can't give you a week. We can give you a day. So, right? And so it's like you
Right.
have to be
Right.
able to put up some. That's how we manage these strengths to get them to move. So we're not just allowing people to kind of be out here loosey goosey, getting totally driven by their strengths, and we're losing the priorities in business or life. We've got to think, okay, how do we manage these strengths so they can actually activate and do the things and perform at a higher level than just sort of like allowing excuse making to happen.
So good. So very good. And Coach Sarah, right? I know you
Yes.
as an
Hello.
amazing, I know you as an amazing coach. I actually like the fact that when I threw connectedness out, you didn't make the bridge immediately. You were like, well, I'm
Yeah.
curious about the question. How does it relate back? And I'm fascinated by that because how much do we always learn from each other and the other coaches we
Right.
have on here? Because you didn't put that string together right away. How amazing is it that now we have that? And you've now made the comparison to deliberative and how that might play in that specific way. It took you a moment to get there. But every time I am working with my coachees and the people we work with, how often I think, oh well, there's the example when I ask you what strength is it that you think is doing that, I have in my mind where it's about to go. 10% of the time it goes there. At
Right.
best, 10%, right? It's how often do we hear it and it's, oh, explain that to me. And then they explain it to me and that is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That is so well done. And I wouldn't have put that theme as being in that way. So for me, I think that connectedness after I heard it on the other podcast really resonated with me. And I thought, and I wouldn't have put it there either, but again, knowing it, listening to it and building up on it, pretty fascinating for me. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So I have a devil's advocate question.
Hit me.
What do you do if your job requires you to do something, but it's in your bottom of your strengths? For instance,
Hmm.
communicate. I've got to be a great communicator, but communication is my 34th strength. Like, what? So, what am I supposed to do? Like, this feels like an impossible scenario.
Yeah. Let me give you that. From my point of view, let me give you my answer to that, which is a pretty simple one. And that is you and I have highlighted that we met together at Charlotte's event a couple times, and then we put this podcast together while being at that event. I know I had, and I'm pretty positive you and I have communicated, so I'm comfortable in saying both of us had drug our feet on doing on a podcast for some time. Allie, my business coach, had asked me to do it for a couple of years, and I literally was dragging my feet. Again, my relationship, right? Oh, I got to talk through technical. I don't always love Zoom coaching. How am I going to pull that together? Where am I going? So we could easily look at that as a job or something that kept coming up for me that I was sticking my flag in the sand and being no. I'm not good. I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I might, but I know I need to do it. I'm being told I need to do it, but I don't want to do it. And what happened was, and I think this was pretty fair for you and I wooed it up together. We continued wooing. We had some love in that. And when we met, we had some commonality and some thoughts around, hey, we should do a podcast. Oh, that would be good. And my gut dropped. Someone else telling me I need to do a podcast. Great. That's what I want. And then when we both went, well, should we do it together? Bang, turn, key for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now my woo is on fire, which lit my activator, right? Well, what
Mm-hmm.
software should we use? How would we step into it? Where would we go? It My responsibility gets turned on that it's not just me now. I can push it off and not worry about it. My responsibility doesn't need to get inflamed because I'm not worried about doing it. Now I have to worry about it. I have to put it on. So I think the easy answer for me in your question, if I'm using that example, is how do we lean into the strength that is powerful for us, right? How do
Right.
we not let it off the hook? And that's a good example of I don't believe it does let people off the hook. We are giving them, and I know early on I sounded like I was letting myself off the hook on a lot of them, but I think from the coaching community, and a good coach will get you to understand you don't get off the hook on this. We need to find another way to activate and turn that on. And for you and me, it was woo, activator, somebody I really like, someone I respect in the coaching community. I don't want a responsibility to let them down. I have harmony. We're working towards a common goal. I need to activate on other themes to make that work for me. And that's how we coach with a lot of people. I had a client here yesterday talking about we had worked real hard to talk about a situation she was about to step into, and she bailed out. She 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 was going to do it. She had the plan. We gave her the plan. She built on it, and then she came yesterday and said, "Yeah, I got to tell you, I didn't do it. I completely bailed out of it." And we broke down why she bailed out of it, and she was devastated because when she actually got to what she was going to go do, it was fantastic. It would have been perfect for all the people she was going to bring. It was absolutely a perfect scenario, and she just felt horrible and texted the people she didn't bring. It was like, I don't know what I was thinking. I blew this. And in reality, we had to sit there and go over, so why? What was the theme? What stepped into that? And how can we learn from this and build on it? And kudos to her, because she is asking the question, how can I be better? What is it? So we went over her strengths in depth. And she may be a guest this year, so we may be able to break that down a little further. But just going over her themes and understanding why she did it and how she can avoid that landmine. Again, not letting her off the hook or overcharging her responsibility, which was there. She actually had one theme that was in super drive and one she was using in the basement, as a coach would say, or immaturely. And we broke those down, and she came to some real good clarity around one phone call would have fixed that particular item. So again, my position on this is it doesn't let you off the hook. As good coaches, our job is to get you past that hindrance, past that ability to hold on to it and feel it there. How about you?
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I do the same thing. I also like to explain to people that the words you see, there are 34 strengths, and they have one word that represents a whole bucket full of talents within that. And so you will identify the strengths. They show up differently for everyone. And so there are certain things when you read your report, you'll read something for communication and you'll be like, bam, that's so me. And then you'll read another part of communication. You'll be like, that one's not me. And that's okay. That's what we want. You are unique in that respect. That's why this assessment does not put you in a box. And so I think there's one of like understanding the nuance to the themes and what it means for you. And I think so if you think about communication as a strength, this one comes up for me all the time with people, whether it's high or low. And people assume if you have high communication, you're a good communicator. And if you have low communication, you're a bad communicator. And that's not what it is, because the theme communication is not necessarily the outcome of communicating in the world. Typically, people with high communication, it's an influencing theme. They're trying to get what's in their head out. So I have high communication. I'm a verbal processor. I need to get everything in my head out for it to make sense. I love talking. I didn't start out as like a good communicator.
Boy, is that true for you. Oh my. It all comes out. I mean, it just goes. Yes.
Well, I tell people this story. I can remember in 5th grade, we had this Modern Woodmen of America speech contest, the first sort of speech contest that I was ever introduced to. And I picked like Henry Ford as my topic. And, I'm just in 5th grade. And I remember doing it and I did terrible. I think it was a contest. I didn't have any place. I did terrible. But there was something about it that I loved. I liked. And it scared me. And I didn't want to do it again, but I did want to do it again. And in 6th grade, we had the opportunity to do the Modern Woodmen of America speech competition again. And I think I got 2nd place or something that year. And it was just there was this little flame inside of me that even as a little girl, there was just something exciting about it. But it doesn't mean I was good at it. I did speech in high school. I only went to state one time, but I went to a small school, so we didn't have an amazing speech coach. And so it's you have to invest in your strengths to get them good. So with communication, if you want to be a good communicator in the world, it takes investing, practicing speaking, practicing talking to people, practicing how you use those words that are coming out of you like word vomit to make them good communication. And it can often be not good communication. It's just a lot of communication. So on the inverse, say you have low communication, you can still be an incredible communicator in the world. It's how you use your strengths. So say you have strategic and significance and responsibility and you're a VP and you could be phenomenal at giving your team, here are the updates. You send them weekly emails. You're talking to them in your one-on-ones because you know that it's your responsibility and you want to make a difference to them. And you're really strategic about the things they need to know and the things they don't need to know. So to the outside world, phenomenal communicator. But you're not word vomiting about every little thing that's happened to you in the day like I would be. And so I
Right.
think it's like that nuance for people to know too of like the strengths, the way they read on the page, and what is happening in the world. We could be totally two different things here. And so again,
Yeah.
I love to approach the assessment with an abundance mindset and not a limiting mindset.
Oh,
So
so good.
think about
Ooh,
what we can do with our top 10 or that
yeah.
top 15 or wherever you claim.
Yeah.
Don't think about what you can't do. And if there is something in that bottom 5 that you are like, but I need to do this, what in the world, like in the actual world, what does it look like to do that in the world? Do not tell
Yeah.
me the strengths theme or definition. Tell me what action do you want to see in the world? And then we'll work backwards to connect that action to your top 10
Perfect.
to make
Perfect.
it possible.
So good. Wow. Look at her. Just here, I'm gonna there you go.
I love
Drop.
that. I love this
So
shit. This is so good.
that's really good. We made this comment frequently. I know we do it in our own coaching practices. I always point out this is an excellent tool to make tough discussions much easier and more effective. And your term is strengths
Turning
turn
criticism into recognition.
right. And when I heard you talk about your young girl, high communication, failing at the speech contest, and thinking about employees now that we talk about, it's so if you were to extrapolate that to a group that you're working with now, it's much easier. Let's say that communication was in the job and that was something they had to do and they had it high, and usually it works and it didn't. It's so easy to have that discussion. Hey, your communication is high. I know it's on your assessment. We've talked about where it works. How can I make your communication a little better in this instance? Because this fell down and that
Mm-hmm.
didn't happen. So for your young girl, hey, you have high communication, but you feel like you dropped the ball here, so that wasn't a success. That might be more of a weakness for you. How can we make that better for you? How can I help you understand, and let's work on that together to make that? That's
Yeah.
such a much better conversation than what just happened? How
Yeah.
did that, right? Why are we in this position? How did you fail on this? And hearing you talk about that, we coach so many managers around how to start with just here. If you
Mm-hmm.
know and have these, let's base it in a framework and a language that both of you share. And
Yeah.
if you
And
do
the
that,
language that is based on positivity too,
yeah,
which I think
yeah,
is so important.
yeah. I have a CEO with a pretty large company. I work with hundreds of people, and she's hard. She's high influencing, super, uh, you know, super driven, super go. And I think one of the things her employees don't understand about her is she expects input from everybody. But they
Mm,
think because she's so influencing and driven and go, she doesn't want any input. She wants to
yeah.
go do what she wants to do. And we've worked on this a bit with her and her teams to understand when you don't communicate with her or step in and do things, she looks at that and says, why are you here? What I mean, our job is to all talk about this. And when we have sessions where they open up and we're in a safe room, let's say, and we're all, hey, we're in a safe space, we can, and then she learns so much and she exemplifies that. But I would say that some of her employees are scared of her,
Yeah.
of that influency big theme. So again, is it letting her employees pushing them towards not communicating? In some instances, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Should she be softening her approach sometimes in certain meetings or asking things in certain ways? Yes, we've
Mm-hmm.
worked on that. But also, it's incumbent that once they can see each other's themes and strengths and understand why you're doing what you're doing, that's when, okay, maybe I shouldn't be letting you off the hook so much. I should be talking more about this. I should be stepping into the moment and not shying away from it.
Yeah. Does she have
So I
high
think
command?
she does. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
That's
she
one
has
of
self
those ones.
assurance as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
command and self assurance, especially that combo. I see exactly what you're saying. It's a really tricky one. Often is in a leadership position. It begs for leadership, even if the person doesn't even want to be the leader. They just have the
Yep.
natural poise and tendencies to step in.
Yeah.
And it can say, this is the way it's going to be. And the person is thinking, and also, what are your ideas? But they are just, the way they speak can just be so like definitive. Like that's what it
Hmm.
is, that it doesn't invite. And so exactly like you're saying, it's like it's coaching our folks to say, well, what are some key phrases that you can learn that do invite, this is how I think it should be. What are your thoughts? It can be
Yeah.
little tiny changes like that. And like you said, even getting the team to know that this is the strengths that she is leading from, but here's like what the intent is. Here's what she's
Yeah.
interested in. And
Yeah.
so I love looking at a partnership and saying, here are your strengths and why you're coming off this way. And here are your strengths and why you are coming off this way. How do we then have empathy and understanding for each other? And then how do we work together better? I mean, these are dynamic, important, imperative conversations that teams need to be having with each other if they want to reach that high success, high performance status.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliantly put. Really well done. I met my mentor yesterday who has command in his top 5. And I was explaining to somebody else that was with us the reason we get along so well and talk is because we are absolutely different.
Yeah.
He co-coaches with his brother in a practice, and his brother's just like me. Just like me. Our themes are very similar, and we tend to be more, fly off the cuff. Let's be mushy. Let's move and pivot and do things. And the mentor that I meet with is definitely the driver. I'm trying to remember. He helped us with his analogy of it is in sports when there's two commentators, one's the play-by-play and one's the color guy, right? He's like,
Uh-huh.
I'm the play-by-play. I'm the
Yeah.
one that makes every play. And then my brother's filling in the stuff that's not really important, but it makes the game more interesting.
Right.
And now they coach separately. So now they've had to learn, he's had to become more color and play by play, and his brothers had to pick up more play by play. And we were talking to them about why that works for us and why he and I get along so well and how often we communicate because coaching with him has been a joy. It's softened him up with his employees, helped him get there. It lets him not be so hard. So again, we're not letting him off the hook that he's pushing people aside when they need a personal moment, and he has done that in the past. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't let him off the hook anymore in relation to our question about if you're going to be a modern manager that runs 60 people in this practice, he is a doctor. If you're going to run 60 people in this practice, you've got to be open to having those moments.
Yeah.
You've got to soften up and be a bit more like your brother or like me. And the way to do that is surround yourself with people like us so that you understand what that looks like and how it feels. And what, most importantly, regarding what you had brought up, what other themes do you have? What are those words where you can lean into those that isn't command, right?
Right.
At that moment, we might need to park that command. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
command, I think, is a strong strength. I mean, I think if
Yeah.
you really sit down, you look at the 34 strengths, there are certain ones who get into the driver's seat, like you like to say, Bill, and there are
Mhm.
certain ones who are like, I'm cool in the back seat.
I'm
And
done. I'm
command
back.
likes to take the wheel. She does.
Yeah.
I mean, by essence of being command, she's like, you know what? I'll drive. I'll drive the car. No one else is going to drive. I'll drive. And everyone's
I
like,
got it.
well, I mean, we didn't even have a chance to say, but okay, she's driving.
You do it.
Uh,
Yeah. You got it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and
Uh,
so it is one that you have to be very strategic about, like where you we putting you in the car, and maybe someone else should drive this because of the goals we're
yeah.
trying to reach today, ma'am.
Yeah. Speaking of second season, I think, don't we? I think we have a question coming up with a guest around good managers. What themes?
Mm-hmm. I
And
think we do. Yeah.
I think command was in that question sequence. So again, we're going to keep discovering these themes and talking about more as they come. But yeah, I feel guilty of letting myself off the hook because of certain times in this debate. I also feel very strongly that there are very positive and coachable ways to not do that. And
Mm-hmm.
in not doing that, I step into some very powerful themes. You helped me do it with, for instance, this podcast, with pushing some of the other things we do. I had no idea Strengths on Fire had a LinkedIn page until you sent me the link after you built it, right? And I'm I was like, oh, because my activator should have said, let's go do that. That would be really good. And suddenly there's a link and
Well,
we're taking some polls and we're getting some data. So,
yes, and we're going to move to that right now because my
mhm.
activator did make that so we could take these polls. And so we
Hit me.
asked on LinkedIn, do you think it's fair to say that's not my strength when it comes to your work responsibilities? So we had 69% of people say sometimes, 19% of you said no, you must deliver. 13% said yes, stay in your lane. So, Bill, what is your reaction to the question and to our pollers?
So 69% said sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Interesting. Because I think, well, I mean, based on the way I've covered this question, I feel like I'm a sometimes. I would absolutely be in that. I think
Mm-hmm.
to make ourselves better, we need to limit the sometimes.
Yeah.
We need to park it down to no, I need to be able to pivot and move to it to make us better. That's the goal of
Yeah.
coaching, right? How do we step into our strengths? How do we show up and be better for the people, ourselves, and around us? And that is limiting the amount of time. I cherish our arsonists knowing themselves well enough to say, nope, 69% of the time I'm not good enough to do that. That just gives us clients right there that we can help move into, right?
Yeah. I think one of the hard things is when you make a LinkedIn poll, you have to stick to like 30 characters for those answers. So, I'm real limited on what I can offer people because I
Yeah.
think it's a real nuanced question, just like we've said here. I mean, I would
Yep.
actually never want someone, if you are at work and your boss, your supervisor, your colleague asks you to do something, do not say the words, no, that's not my strength. I'm going to just say a hard up no. You do not get to say that. Okay. Like those words do not get to come from your mouth. What you
Uh,
can say is, oh, that's so interesting. Like, tell me more. Or, I'm just a little apprehensive because I really get a lot of energy and feel myself working really fast and getting into flow when I do X. I'm not sure how I'm going to do Y. Maybe I need to think strategically about that. Or can you be my thought partner about how you see me doing that? If it's something that feels like it is not your strength. I
mm,
just don't think that you get to, I think saying, no, that's not my strength is like bad behavior. I have worked in
bad.
a workplace where someone did this, and I just want to say it was really, really torturous for me. Okay.
Yeah. I I
PTSD in the
I have
workplace
a
for
I
that.
have I have a client with a sticky employee, and by that what I mean is they they are called out by other members on staff frequently as well. If we're going to set a strengths correction, and they're a pretty good strengths group, this would be the person we might need to set that correction with. And initially, this employee hated the coaching, was like, I will not take part of this. I don't want to do anything about this. Now, this employee is 120% in. It's a success story for us on conversion.
Mm-hmm.
But, and by sticky, what I mean by that is now periodically, I would say this person is using the themes of coworkers and herself to say, nope, nope, or I need to push off on that, right? Has kind of migrated from I won't do this at all to, oh, I love this. Maybe I have found an alley to defend some of what I'm doing.
Ooh, it's like when strengths go dark.
It is. And
And,
like you said, this person, like it's difficult for me. It's
mm-hmm.
hard for me to come in because I don't want to puncture the balloon completely and
Right.
say, but I do want to be effective. And that's hard
Well, and we both have high harmony. And I think that probably, I don't know for you, it comes out in my coaching because I want
all the time.
everybody on the ship
All the
going
time.
the same way. And I don't want anyone to not like what we're doing or to
Yep.
do it wrong. And I don't want to call anybody out for doing it
Yep.
wrong. I will if I have to, but it takes a lot of gumption. It does not come naturally to me.
It does.
And so those situations are difficult. And if I'm being totally honest, I get in trouble. I actually am so in some cases I am so happy I do not work in a normal work environment anymore because if I'm
Mm.
being honest now with hindsight, I can see that with high communication and high harmony, when people would make me mad, what I would do is I would go talk to other people and tell them all about it because I had to
Yeah.
process verbally, which is a form of gossip and is not a real healthy thing to do in the workplace. And now I'm
Exactly.
lucky that I'm a business of one, so I don't have anyone to talk to. And the only person to really make me mad is
Oh
myself.
no. Oh
Um,
no. Oh
but
no.
these are the things that are real life. Like, this is the real truth of it
Right.
all. And I love
Right.
season 2 because we get to uncover sort of these harder, more challenging things.
Yeah.
But I just think that, like anything, working with people is hard. And
Yeah.
there's going to be so much nuance. If we know 1 in every 33 million people have the same top 5 strengths in the same order, that means we are also unique, which is
Yep.
amazing and allows us to have so much opportunity. But it also means we have to look at each person as an individual. So if you're a manager or a leader, that's a lot of work.
That
And
is.
Gallup tells us that we should be having one meaningful conversation a week with the people that we're managing. So
Yep.
you need to like really be on your game and recognize that you've got these unique people that you've got to figure out how to make them the most productive and efficient in their jobs because that's sort of why
Absolutely.
they have those jobs. And
Yeah.
so I think strengths is a great tool to do that, but it can get slippery if we have people who are trying to twist it to say,
Yeah.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, like this is how I'm going to get out of it. We got to be
Yeah.
really careful about how we manage and coach those folks.
Got it. Absolutely perfect. Well, and you had said you're a business of one, and how you're thank God I don't have anyone to talk to do that. But I know you as being somebody when we get together, you're always pretty dynamic and forward thinking. I have a quick question for you before we kind of start thinking of rolling out of this, and that is, I've talked about how it's tripped me up and done some things with me. How about you and Corey? You ever find that
Oh,
you have a
marriage
moment where
counseling in here? Yeah, no, it's a disaster zone over here.
well, I mean, are there a certain is that what have you ever noticed a theme either yourself or in him that it kind of gone off the hook? A little I'm letting it go or just curious.
Well, what happens to Corey and I talk about this in coaching all the time. It's honestly what we talked about a little bit ago, where Corey has, my husband, if you don't know, he has high command and self assurance in top 5. I obviously have all of this harmony and woo and everything. And I think that is the hardest thing for us. Specifically for me, it's been hard because he can be just so decisive and so just like, this is the way it is. And there are times where I obviously disagree. And I've really had to struggle, and I'm in a lot of therapy, folks, of being able to be comfortable to say, well, I don't think so. And sometimes he'll push back and sometimes he won't. And like a lot of times I can get him to see my side, but it might not be immediate,
Right.
because he will just be like, this is the way it is. This is what we're doing. And then I'm having this like, I don't agree with that. Do I say it? Do I not say it? I don't want to make him mad. Like, is it going to make him mad? It's a me thing because of that harmony
Sure it is.
bumping up against
Yeah.
that,
Do I do it? Yeah.
do I do it? And so I have our strengths on the refrigerator. I'm here. We got them both. I'm trying. He's also very analytical and strategic, which I am not. So
Mm,
if there is something I'm like, I think we should do this. What is appealing to me is the people part of it. What is appealing to him is more of like the data, the logistics, the plan. So if I really want something, I know like what I want to use as my approach is going to be different than
yes.
what is going to be persuasive to him. So I have to
Yeah.
change my approach because of how he thinks
Mm,
versus how I think. We
hmm.
share none in our top 10.
Wow.
No commonalities at all in the top 10.
Wow. Wow. Talk about opposites attracting in your case, right? I get
Yeah,
it.
indeed.
I I coach that frequently where I say, you're attracted to something that you just don't know early on. And eventually that's the thing that might drive you crazy. That old axiom is true,
So
right?
true.
How often, man, I'm fascinated by that because I don't possess that. And I see the power in it and I love it. And then 5 years in, you're like, okay, that drives me nuts, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know why you're doing it, but I don't know that I love it, right?
Right.
And I know I get where you're at with that. I get why why you're there. And Corey, I don't want to drag. I'm not dragging your marriage through the mud on an open podcast. I'm curious
Just really starting season 1 off with a bang
if we're
for
going to get
season
out
2.
there, yeah, if we're going to get out there, let's get out there. So, all right. Well,
Well, Bill,
Sarah,
tell me,
yeah.
when have your strengths given you a fireworks moment? Do you have a
Mm,
recent fireworks moment to share with us?
absolutely. One thing I didn't highlight before we started this, another absolute difference in today's podcast, something we're kicking season 2 off with that we've had at no other time, is a live studio audience. Uh,
Woo!
so I have an intern in the studio with me today, and she is from a school that I recently worked with the graduate, actually the whole school I found out, but all the women in the school, and she wanted to do an intern. She's actually an ex-guest. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you can see Rhea on season 1, and part of my part of my firework moment that I would highlight on that is when Rhea came to me and said, "Can I intern with you?" Well, you want to
Mm-hmm.
talk about a developer standing up and saying, "Can I help?" Right? Let me step into it. How can we do that? And knowing that it meant enough to somebody of Rhea's age at 18 to say, I really want to, you meant enough to me that I want to explore this and see how this builds. So that firework moment for me was all about stepping in. And then Rhea joined me yesterday for the mentor group talk when I was talking about his command and how we get together. So being able to just shine and knowing that we're not only coaching and we're helping people subtly, but there's some obvious times where it clicks and the firework goes off and we're allowing people to see what we do and it really means something to them. That's my firework moment for right now, because right now I've never had a studio audience for the podcast. So yeah, it's great.
I love it. And we love Rhea, and she is all in on strengths. And so that's really cool. It's really
Oh, and
cool.
she's on her way to Tufts University. She's
Oh my
leaving me in a
gosh, that's
month.
so
So
exciting.
just saying,
I
she's going
love
all
young
in.
people.
And she is rocking it. And how great is it to just go intern at that age? I know I didn't do it, right?
No.
It wasn't something I ran out and tried, and to be able to see it, and we're showing her the back end business, the front end business, the coaching side, the trying to show her everything about a small business and letting her decide, I don't want to do that. I'm going to work somewhere, that
Yeah.
pays me a lot of money and does more things. So I think that's perfect. So.
I love that. What about your dumpster fire? Where's your dumpster fire come lately?
Oh, my dumpster fire's always all over the board. I miss on just so many different spots so many times. So, I would say I've definitely had some moments of inaction lately. Maybe that connectedness thing. That's probably why that was top of mind for
Mm-hmm.
me. Some things maybe I should step into certain discussions or certain areas that I think no, it'll work out. Whatever it is, it'll move that way. So, just yeah, I've probably had a couple of those, both from a coaching point of view, where maybe I didn't push the client enough, and maybe I should have, versus maybe some personal times too, where I talk to my dad frequently, and other times in my marriage where maybe I should have just stepped on something and really tried to make a point. And I do suffer from that harmony developer, that connectedness side. I think frequently, and I'm experiencing it a bit now. So I think it's great that Ray is with me, because then I can't do it in front of her. I've got to keep going. So
Yeah.
yeah. How about
Excellent.
you? Where's your firework lately?
I just on a whim, my activator used to be my dumpster fire, and I've reined her in pretty good, and I've got it to where I'm trusting when I work in the last minute. And on a whim, a couple weeks ago, I said I'm gonna do office hours at a coffee shop where I'll just like invite people to come if they want, and I didn't know if anyone would show up. So I feel like it's really engaging my woo, my woo is so helpful in my business, but I have
Yeah.
been busy enough lately, like hallelujah, praise the Lord, send me help, that I haven't been going to the normal networking things that I normally do. And that's a
Yeah.
lot of how I generate business is being out and
Sure.
talking to people.
Sure.
And so I was like, I got to get back out there, but a lot of the things that exist are not fitting in my schedule. So I'm like, okay, let's do these office hours. Found a local coffee shop that I love and invited people. Just, I'm going to be there for an hour and a half. If you want to come. We can talk about work, we can talk about personal stuff, we can work together, whatever it is. First time I ever tried it. And I had 3 people there and one gal. It was actually Liz, who was on our podcast recently. She
Oh
brought her
yeah.
2 kids who I got to meet, which was so fun.
Oh, my not
And
stunned Liz showed up to an event for you. I think.
yes, and then there was 2 other gals, and it was just honestly so fun, so great. It just totally tapped into my woo. It was a great way to connect, and I had a bunch of other people say, I can't come because I did it, of course. I announced it like the day before.
Yeah.
Hashtag
Naturally.
activator.
Yes.
And so this time I have listed it a couple weeks out. I'm doing it next week. This podcast will be out far after this is happening. But I'm excited about it. Again, I don't know if anyone's going to show up, but it feels like a strategic way to be networking with people who want to talk to me. I'm like, I have a dream that someone who wants to work with me, who I don't know yet, is going to show up and be like, let's have an impromptu consultation call sort of thing. So
Let's
who knows
talk.
what it's going to be, but it just seems like a creative way that I get to use my strengths. I get to go do what I would do anyways. If no one shows up, I'll just like work in the beautiful coffee shop with coffee and chocolate. Like
Love it.
amazing.
Love
But
it.
also be able to like connect with people out there and network, which I need to do. So
Yeah.
I
I
feel like
do.
that's my firework
I do.
moment.
I do a lot of coaching in a tea shop in town just because it gets me out among the people. And Allie has asked me to do drop in day
Yeah,
for 2 hour. And again, I've never tried it, but I love the idea that you're jumping into it.
just
So
just jumping
pushing
in.
it out there. And you're absolutely right. Some guy's going to walk in, some lady's going to walk in and say, I've got a, 150 person company. I need you for all of it. So come do it. And if you keep putting them out there, one day I'm going to walk in and you're going to
Oh
be
my
like,
god,
right. I'm going to be like, I need some real
we
help.
would need that videoed because I will literally scream.
Fear not. I will be walking in with video rolling saying, "Can we talk about your dumpster moments?" Right? So, let's talk about one of your dumpster moments right now. Hit me.
Oh, I think my harmony has been a big dumpster moment when it comes to the business because I go out, and I do whether it's a one-off workshop or coaching with people ongoing or coaching a team over and over again. I feel like the experience I'm having and they're having is great. And I think I need to follow up with some sort of, you know, feedback. Like, how was that for you? Was that good for you?
Mm.
Can I have a testimonial if it was great or if it wasn't great, why? And I just drag my feet on it because I'm so afraid someone's going to say something I don't like. Even though I real like that almost never happens. But
Yeah.
like there's a few times. There was once I met with a group a couple years ago. It was a banking group and I really brought the energy and only a handful. That's the other thing. A lot of people don't fill out those feedback surveys.
It's true.
And so only a couple people did, and one of the guys, even though he had great feedback saying like this was good, I learned a lot. He had one response that was like, you came in a little hot, and I think I would have had more buy-in if you would have come in a little slower. And like
Sarah
I
came
can
in
never forget
hot.
it. I can never forget it. I can never forget it. Like I have nightmares about that comment, even though that is true. You know what? That is true.
Sarah hot? No, I can't imagine. So, I I
So,
I
like, that's
pay.
my harmony, though. My harmony is so afraid someone is going to say something that will haunt me for the rest of my life that I'm like, you know what? Feedback, schmeedback.
Yeah, I love it. I pay Ann, my coach slash assistant, to send my post rally surveys and to ask for testimonials. We've
Yeah.
automated that process through ClickUp and a couple other things. So,
Yeah, so
um,
smart.
but like you said, I have every now and then, and you're right, it doesn't get 100% response. Sometimes it doesn't even get 50% response, but it always gets responses. And I have received a couple of times, hey, this would have been more helpful. or I didn't appreciate this, and like you, I think of them but I've incorporated them at some
Yeah.
level. And I would say a couple of them I've just flat out ignored, right?
Good
Because
for you.
that wasn't what I was trying to accomplish. You have to get to a point where you can. So I completely and utterly understand your point in thinking I need to be there, but I also don't know that I want the feedback all the time. I get it.
I will say though, I'm excited because I met with a marketing specialist yesterday. I ran through a workshop with her where she actually helps align people, small businesses who have to kind of just do their marketing on their own with their strengths. And we're talking about doing a collaboration with CliftonStrengths, but at this point hers is just, based on what you're good at. Obviously, I'm a business of one, so we broke down all my marketing things and I was talking about this and she gave me this hot tip because I'm such an in-person communicator. She said, just follow up with the leader, send an invite for a 10-minute Zoom call,
Yeah.
ask if you can record it, and then just ask, how did it go? What was good? What could have been better? Can I use any of the good stuff you're saying? And she said, then you have the video of it and you can use the written testimonial. And then I could also follow up and be like, do you want to do more work? Because what
Right.
happens when I am not following up for feedback, I'm also not following up to say, hey, can we keep working together? So dropping
Yep.
balls over here, but have a plan. I have a plan. So if you are a client listening to this, and we have done something together, expect a calendar request for 10 minutes of your time to talk
Right.
about how it went and know that that is scaring me. And I also think if I put that ball in your court and you don't do it, then that's fine too.
That's okay. Actually, I wrote it down. I love it. I love the idea because
Right?
I don't
Yes.
always follow up completely. We do send out the surveys. I also actually the way I do it is I tend to co-locate the surveys because we tell everybody that they are anonymous, which they are,
Yes.
but we co-locate them and then send them to management so that they can see
Mm.
the good and the bad. And then I do schedule a call with management to talk about the results of those surveys, which is usually where I'm saying, here's the
See?
next step
You're
we would
so
do.
together. You're so put
But
together.
but I would say, to get on and video it and to do that, that is a really good way to do it. I love that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. All
Okay,
right.
Bill. I mean, I think we just knocked out episode 1, season 2. Is there anything else that you have to add?
Man, I don't know if our listeners can handle this much honesty between you and I. This is
Woo!
spooky.
We're getting
Woo.
into it. We're getting into it. Listen, I need something to
Well,
clip and post on LinkedIn, okay?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and when we start bringing our guests back in an episode or two, and start having some of this with them, I'm seeing a lot of firework and dumpster fire moments. I
I
see
can't
this
wait.
being pretty. So if you like this format, let us know. Send us a note,
Or
uh,
don't.
or don't. Yeah, or don't send
Based
us
on
feedback.
everything I just said, I don't want to hear the things you're going to say that are negative. I'm kidding, of
I'll
course.
I'll co-locate it and send it to you so
There
you
you
can,
go. I
so you
am
don't.
here for when I say I would like feedback, what I mean is I would like compliments.
She would. Sarah loves the compliment. So, all right. Well,
At
let's.
least I know what I like. Okay, at least I'm
And,
honest.
and I know what you like too. So I just say, still the best podcast co-host I've ever
Ah,
worked with.
yes,
Oh,
ditto.
so
Right back at ya.
love it. So, someone's going to be mad at that comment from you.
Oh, yeah. Jordan will
Nah,
not be listening. My
Jordan.
previous
Jordan.
podcast, I did have a podcast once.
No.
Please don't go Google it, friends.
Ah,
But Jordan, he won't be mad. He's my best friend. Sorry, you
all
won't. You won't. You won't steal that title from him.
all right. Love it. Love to know. All right. Wait, I'll never be a best friend. This doesn't feel right.
Not like my Jordan.
Okay, well that's fair. It's good to know. I'm flying to Lincoln and I'm doing a coffee day, but I'm
Okay.
third or fourth best friend. I like it. So all right, well let's get out of here, Sarah. Again, love it. Thank you so much for the kickoff on season 2. Love that we're doing it again, and have totally enjoyed season 1. So let's see where it goes.
All right. Bye.
Sound good? All right, and we'll talk to our arsonists soon. Thank you for joining us on Strengths on Fire. If today's conversation sparked something in you, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review.
We're here bringing you fresh insights to fuel your growth and ignite your potential. Remember, your strengths are powerful, so let's keep the fire burning.
And if you're looking to transform your organization through strengths-based strategies and coaching, reach out to Sarah Collins, founder of Collins Collective, or Bill Dippel, founder of Bill Dippel Strengths Coaching. Connect with Sarah at wearecollinsco.com. Follow her on Instagram at SarahCoachCollins, or email her at sarah@wearecollinsco.com, SARAH. You can reach Bill at BillDippel.com, Bill, DIPPEL.com, or on Instagram at Bill Dippel Coach, or email him at bill@BillDippel.com.
Please note the opinions, views, and interpretations of CliftonStrengths expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and the guests. They have not been approved, sanctioned, or endorsed by Gallup in any way.
Until next time, keep your strengths on fire and let's light up what's possible together. Bye, Bill.
Bye, Sarah.